So I've been making stock removable knives until this point, but I've got a real desire to start blacksmithing and get my hand in that. So I made a forge recently. I didn't make a video of making the forge because it was a pretty complex project and I felt that I didn't have the skills to both make a video and do the job justice. I will show you the forge in a different video and maybe just talk you through the build. And it's a fantastic forge, but I do also need an anvil. I was looking for months and months for some railway track and nothing came up, and over COVID I couldn't get to the one person who said they had a piece. Eventually I was out at somebody's house that I knew and they had a piece of railroad track lying in their garden. They had used it for an anvil years ago and they just kind of left it there. So they gave it to me and I've been trying to beat on this thing a little bit. The problem is, firstly it's wobbly. It's really unsafe. I've got it stacked up on 3 logs that were cut from a tree just outside my house, and it's dangerous. I need to make this thing solid. Also, the train track, the curves are a bit too rounded all the way down. There's no horn. I didn't think I'd need a horn. I didn't think the rounded edges would be a problem. But even with my super basic knowledge, they're starting to limit me. So I feel like I need to put a horn on this thing, square off the top, make at least some of the edges a little more square. And then I need to work out how to make this base nice and solid and then bolt this thing onto the base. I am still using a very, very rudimentary hammer from Bunnings, and I bought myself some tongs the other day and they're fantastic. It's really great to have a good set of tongs. I was just using some basic hand clamps before. Didn't work really well at all. So this video will be taking you through how to shape and cut and grind some railroad track down to an anvil. Now this isn't a very complex thing to do. You don't need a lot of tools or a lot of gear to be able to do it, but you do need a few things. Sharpie, obviously you need to draw your shapes, a ruler and some calipers, pretty handy, make it a little bit easier. Obviously an angle grinder. You should always have a respirator, some eyewear and headphones, and for the angle grinder, cut-off wheel, as well as a grinding disc, because you're going to need to cut the basic shapes and then with the grinding disc even it all out, smooth this thing out and get it surface nice and prepared. So as you can see, I started drawing on this before I remembered to start the camera rolling. So basically what I did, get your calipers, mark them to 0, get the width, which is 71, then halve that, 35.5 roughly, give or take, and then mark a center line. So with a slight outward curve, I basically came back. There was already this cut in the anvil, so I'm using that as my finish point for the horn. So I've gone ahead and I've marked that out, tried to get as even as I can on the other side. I basically got my calipers and roughly did down the center onto the other side, marked some dots and then joined the dots. Pretty easy. And then on the other side under here, I am basically just drawing a rough idea of where this is going to go. I think once I've cut these bits off, this will become a little bit more clear to me. And I'm not going to bother doing this cutout on the other side. There might be a good reason to, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's any reason to right now. Most anvils do have that double cutout, but right now, for the sake of discs and grinding and time, I'm just going to do it to one end. So that is basically it. Draw out your horns, mark roughly where you want say a sharp angle to start and stop. I'm just going to do a small area for a sharp angle. There's probably no reason to do a larger area. I can always go back and grind just a little bit more if I need to, but obviously you can't put it back. So that's kind of what I'm relying on. So I think it's time to get grinding. Now I'm also fully aware that this tiny 100mm, is this 100mm? 100mm cutoff wheel might have a bit of a problem getting through all of this thickness. You know, everything gets in the way, the guard gets in the way, the body gets in the way, but it's all I've got, so I'm going to see what I can do and how I can get around it. Now, with only about a minute's worth of cutting, it's not too bad. So I don't think this is going to be as difficult or time consuming as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I've only gone up to here. That's just a score line that I made down there. But, I mean, it's going to be difficult through the thickest part of this track here. That is problematic. But all in all, it's a good start. Let's keep going.
You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. And now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.
So this is going to take longer than I thought. I managed to get off this little piece right here. It's kind of hot. It's taken about 5-6 minutes, so not a huge amount of time, but I am notoriously impatient, and that is this little chunk here. I'll show you. And yeah, I mean, with the size of the angle grinder I've got, I struggled to get all the way through, so I had to bash it off with the hammer at the end. And I don't really think that's going to be that feasible to go all the way down there and all the way down there. I'm going to be at it for the next few days if I do that. So I'm going to have a think about the better way to do it, and I'll come back to it. So now we'll give the metal bandsaw a crack. I didn't really think about this as an option because aligning the track in a way that's going to fit in between these 2 points, it's not a very convenient surface to align anything on. This is unusual shape, so I didn't really think about it, but I reckon it might work. So I've clamped my workpiece down nice and level. I've got the blade in an angle which should hopefully just cut off the edge of the horn here. I'll have to reshape it afterwards, but we'll give this a crack, and with any luck, this will work nicely. Plenty of cutting fluid. Slow, it's just going to take a while. So let's give that a crack.
You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie them to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at, and turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Well, so far that's been pretty successful. It takes a long time. That was probably about 20-25 minutes, I think. So it takes a while, but it's kind of easier. It doesn't go through as many grinding discs. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit, get the angle grinder in there, try and get this piece off, and then we'll have to do the other side.
You can't stop me. All the blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Oh, I paid the dearest price. Then home shortcuts here for destiny. I'll take the long way proud. Oh, I know what I've earned, and now it's my turn. Light in the fuse, let it burn. My time is rising, and you can't bring me down. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now.
I've managed to get the front triangle off. It's taken a while. I reckon that's a good part of hour and a half. Bit of angle grinding, bit of bandsaw, and now I've just got to refine the front, I think, with the bandsaw, because there's still a bit of meat to take off there, and then I need to cut into this area here so I can make the shape of the horn, and then I'll be good. Let's get to it. So after hacking away at this thing for a while, I've made a bit of a dog breakfast off us because I don't really have the right tools. And I've needed a bigger angle grinder for a while, so I went out and bought this 230mm angle grinder, not just for this job, just for so many things I need it for. And I've been putting it off for so long. So I'm going to see how this thing gets through it. The bandsaw is good for certain things. The small 100mm angle grinder has been okay, and I'll probably need to use it to get into some of these little bits, but I'm going to see how this thing does it, and we'll get back to you. Let's go.
For the storm, you know what's coming, so be warned.
Well, I finally got the shape cut out, and now I just need to start grinding. Get some round profile going on in the horn, just clean all this up, and then I'm going to create an area here which has sharper corners, round these corners a little bit more, polish and flatten the top, and hopefully that'll be the end. So let's get into that.
You can't stop me now. You can't stop me now. All my feet have come too far for you to tie up to the ground. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Send my sights on where I'm going now. And turn it back.
Well, that thing is so much quicker. It's crazy. Although I've run out of time for today, so I'm gonna come back tomorrow, as like probably a lot of everybody watching. I've got a day job as well. Here's my lunch break. Got to go work. Gonna get back to this tomorrow maybe, but it's coming along. I reckon another session, maybe another half hour. I reckon we'll be done.
For the storm, you know what's coming, so be warned. You can't stop me now. You can't stop me now. All my feet have come too far for you to tie up to the ground. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now.
I reckon that's about done. I reckon there's probably things I'm going to change as I start to use it and I feel what it's like, and then I can just get the grinder on it again. Got to say, there's no way I couldn't have done this without this large angle grinder. It just would have taken days and days and days. So anyway, I'm going to start on the base now, mount this onto some of those logs, get them all nice and flat and square and join them together so they don't fall over, and then hopefully I can start using this thing. Now, this is probably a really terrible way to make a stand for an anvil. I should probably just get some steel and weld in a tripod, but this is what I got for now. And it is nice and solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a planer to get these things flat and square and then stack them up. Alright, so I decided just to go with 2 of these logs. 3 was a bit too high for the anvil and it was just too wobbly. This one is nice and solid. I've planed the top and the bottom of each one of these until it's flat, and now I've just got to attach this thing to the logs. I'm just going to use some of these coach screws, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I've just got to get drilling. I've started drilling this. I wanted to test what the steel was like to drill, and it drills really easily. So I don't need any special bits. So I'm going to drill these, and then I think we're almost ready to start using it. I'm starting with a small bit, moving up to a medium, and then onto the big, just making sure that I'm not jumping straight to the big and putting too much pressure on these bits. Alright, so I've got this thing bolted on and it's very firm, which is awesome. I'm just going to attach the 2 logs together now, so I'm just going to use a little bit of flat bar, put a couple of holes in over here, one here, and probably one on the back. See how we go. Right, so that's pretty much it. This thing is solid as a rock. I reckon, you know, it'll do me for a fair while. Obviously, this is not the best way to make an anvil. There's plenty that I should do differently, and next time I will when I've got more resources and more time. Just working with what I had, apart from the grinder, obviously. I think it's come up really well. Now it's just a matter of giving it a try, making sure it works well. It's a bit low, but I think I'll be able to get around that, no problem. I'm gonna start hitting on this thing and see if it works. As usual, if you like this video, please subscribe, hit that alerts button so that you get alerts whenever I put a new video up. And yeah, appreciate any comments that you've got as well.